Notre Dame provided its fans with an all-access look into the football program in Peacock's Here Come the Irish documentary, and there were some pretty revealing moments in the first two episodes. More on that coming up next.
You are Locked On Irish, your daily podcast on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on, and welcome into Locked On Irish. I'm Tyler Wojciak, and I'm the host. I'm a Notre Dame alum and producer at Fox Sports, and I am pumped to have you here with me on Friday, August 30th. So happy Friday to you, and thanks for getting your first game weekend of the season started by making this your first listen of the day. This show is free and available wherever you get your podcast, plus you can watch every episode on YouTube as well. This is your reminder to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you are watching on YouTube, or rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast if that's how you're tuning in today. This episode is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy with zero sugar and a convenient portable size. It is the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Okay, we are just one day away from Notre Dame's season opener against Texas A&M. And honestly, it cannot come soon enough. In a little over 24 hours, we are going to watch the Fighting Irish take the football field for the first time in over 8 months. And the entire college football world is going to be focused on the Irish versus the Aggies. We have been talking about this game for months on this show, and I really put it into overdrive the past couple weeks with all the preview content we've been doing on the show. And today I'm going to keep that going a little bit because we got some mailbag questions about the game. I'm going to answer those today, but I actually want to start off by sharing some takeaways that I had about the new Hard Knock style documentary series that was released on Thursday called Here Come the Irish from NBC and Peacock that gave fans an all-access look into the football program. So if you haven't seen it yet, there might be a few spoilers, but it's a documentary, not like a real TV show, so I apologize. But overall, I really liked it. I thought it was interesting. You saw a side of the players that you probably wouldn't normally see, as well as the coaching staff too. But it did feel like a tease because we get these first two episodes and everyone's like, all right, man, this is fun. This is cool that we get to see this side of the team. And now we won't get to see another episode until after the season. And look, I understand it. Marcus Freeman even talked about it this week. He said that he didn't want it to be a distraction at all during the season. But if Notre Dame's in the playoff, maybe it's a distraction then because the next two episodes will not be released until after the regular season is over, but before the first playoff game. Hopefully, by then we're talking about, is this a distraction to the team? Should they be focused on the playoff? Because if we are having that conversation, it means that the team is in the college football playoff. But one overarching take is this documentary and the team and the people involved did not shy away from the hype whatsoever. They were talking national championship. They really leaned into the hype. Howard Cross even said this season feels different. Riley Leonard was talking about national championship expectations. All the different media people that were a part of it in the interviews and things like that, they were all talking about how special this team is, how special this season could be. And it got me really excited. Like, obviously I'm excited about this team and this season, but man, hearing it and just the attitude and mindset that this team has about the season, you can't really turn your head and be like, oh, nope, I can't hide from the hype. Nope. Everyone knows what's at stake here. They know how talented the roster is, and they know how difficult of a task it's going to be in order to achieve their goals. And it starts off with a really tough task in week one. One of my favorite moments was actually one of the first scenes of the first episode was the conversation between Lou Holtz and Marcus Freeman. And we had already gotten a pretty good glimpse of what that was going to look like in the trailer and in the teasers and all that stuff. But still, seeing those two guys in a room talking about what it takes to be the Notre Dame head football coach, what it means to have success, why the Holtz teams are so successful back in his heyday. I thought that was a really cool moment, and I believe Marcus Freeman genuinely appreciates his time and energy and the conversations he has with Lou Holtz. So I thought that was a really cool moment. The features on Jaden Mickey and Xavier Watts were incredibly well done. So shout out to the team for putting that together. I mean, if you weren't emotional during the Jaden Mickey part, I really don't know what's wrong with you, because I'm not a person who cries during TV shows or movies or anything like that. And I didn't in this case, but damn, I was like, this is really something. Jaden Mickey is a special player, and I think everything that Marcus Freeman and the team did around Jaden Mickey to help him through that time was really, really cool. His mother passed away right before the Senior Bowl, not the Senior Bowl, the Sun Bowl And she'd been battling cancer for years. And then you think back to Jane Mickey's interception for a return against Pittsburgh last season was just a great moment. And to revisit that was just really cool and very well done by the team there at Peacock and NBC. I thought the most revealing part was the way in which Notre Dame voted on their captains. Like, we had known that the team has a vote, and basically Marcus Freeman just picks among the top vote getters of who's going to be the captains. And he kind of has a say in the number of captains, but the team gets to pick the players, and whoever has the most votes becomes eligible. But the part that I thought was really interesting was when Marcus Freeman invited anyone on the team to get up, stand in front of the rest of the roster, and say, hey, I want to be a captain on this team. I've never been a part of a team that did that. I thought it was interesting. I thought it takes guts and it takes courage for every single player to get up and go do it. I also think it's revealing about those players. And they did not hang on that shot very long. So, I mean, if I really wanted to, I could pause it and be like, okay, who's every single player that stood up for that moment? But I didn't do that. And I just thought that was an interesting way to go about it. And that was something that we probably would not have known if not for this documentary. So I thought that was really cool. But not surprisingly, they didn't show too much other than that. Maybe they'll show a little bit more after the season ends. I would assume that they will, but considering that Notre Dame is still preparing for the season opener, they don't want to reveal anything to people on Texas A&M, because I guarantee you there's a GA, there is a member of the Texas A&M support staff that was watching both of those episodes and taking notes to find out if they could find any little bit of an advantage to get them ready for that game. So Notre Dame is being pretty cautious about that, and for good reason, right? This is college football. This Connor Stallions documentary just came out earlier this week, so you never really know what you're going up against in that department. But those are my big takeaways about the documentary. Now I want to get to the first mailbag question that also references the documentary. So this comes from Sean Foley. Just finished the first episode, and it was so cool to hear you announcing Riley Leonard to Notre Dame, and it made me think I should try and get a mailbag or two. Okay, so before I get to the rest of Sean's question, yes, my voice did make the cut in the first episode, and it was very funny. It was me, and Sean Foley was like one of the first notices that I got that I was in it, because I woke up this morning around like 6:30, and I had a text from my mom saying, your voice was in the doc, and I saw this tweet pop up on my phone. I was like, oh, okay, I guess they did use it, because someone from one of the showrunners reached out to me a couple months ago and basically asked my permission if they could use some of the show into the documentary. And I said, sure. Which part? And, is it in the final cut? And they really were not specific about when I was going to be in it and if I was actually going to be in the documentary. So I didn't mention it because, things like this happen all the time where you have a feature and you think it's good, and then stuff just has to get edited out for time purposes and all that. So I wasn't sure I was actually going to be in it, and I was in it for a very short amount of time. Basically, they just used a clip from an episode back in December when I talked about Riley Leonard officially becoming a member of the Notre Dame football team. So it was pretty cool to be a part of it. Although I got to say, Peacock, the showrunners, if you're listening to this, you did do me a little dirty. And what I mean by that is if you watch with subtitles, it just says podcast host VO and then my quote, which is funny because you had to manually insert podcast host, because if it was AI, it would just say voiceover. There was no indication that it was from a podcast. So someone had to manually enter the subtitles in there, and rather than saying my name or Locked On Irish or anything like that, they just said podcast host. One of my friends who actually works at Peacock sent that in a group chat, and what felt like a cool moment in the morning ended up just being a roast session for all my friends because I didn't actually get a name or credit or anything involved. I'm not actually mad or upset about it, but I did find it pretty funny. So in the future, Peacock, if you guys do use any clips of the show, maybe throw in my name or throw in the name of the show. I don't really care. And obviously I'm kidding. I don't really care that much about it, but I thought it was really cool. And let's get back to Sean's question now. So he says, after choking up myself, and I assume every Notre Dame fan as well, how many interceptions do you think we see from Jaden Mickey this year? I'm rooting for him man, I really am rooting for Jaden Mickey. I hope he balls out when he gets his opportunity. He's not going to be a starter. He's going to be backing up Christian Gray, but I think he is going to be the first corner off the bench whenever Christian Gray or Benjamin Morrison need a breather. And the fact that Notre Dame has a junior cornerback who is as good as Jaden Mickey as the first guy off the bench shows you just how much the depth of the entire team has improved, but specifically at the cornerback position, because I don't have to remind you about what happened when Notre Dame put in their third corner against Clemson in the college football playoff semifinal game back in 2018. That was Dante Vaughn. Clemson saw him. They were like, we're going to target him. And then Justin Ross immediately had 2 touchdowns and basically put that game out of reach. I don't think that's going to be a concern anymore. Obviously, you want your starters out there, but if Jaden Mickey's out there, he's on the field, he can make some plays. I think he will get an interception this year, maybe 2. I just don't know how many opportunities he's going to get, but man, I am rooting for him. Heartbreaking story, but the way that he has persevered through it is just, it's inspirational, and what he does for the other children and grieving program in that community in South Bend is really, really cool. So Jaden Mickey, you've got a fan in me, rooting for you, as well as the rest of Notre Dame Nation as well. All right, coming up next, we've got a lot more mailbag questions to get to, including how is Notre Dame going to help out this young and experienced offensive line in Kyle Field? Today's episode is brought to you by Factor. Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. You can meet your wellness goals in time for this summer and the fall thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes, so no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? Because with 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. Crush your wellness goals this May with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Make your day delicious from breakfast to dessert. Stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. Treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. Keep kitchen time to a minimum. Factor meals are ready in 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. And enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein take, avoid meat, or simply eat well balanced. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 and use code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. This episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebay.com/motors. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right, let's get to the rest of the mailbag questions. This first one comes from Daniel Wade, 1978. How does an offense with such a young line move the ball? It's a fair question. I think it's a question that a lot of Notre Dame fans have been asking. And it's basically, kind of what I've been saying in the keys to the game stuff for Notre Dame this week. They got to get the ball out quick in the passing game. Do not give Texas A&M time to get in the backfield and disrupt the play. And even when you get the ball out quick sometimes, they're going to be there because the defensive line is just that good. But if you can get matchups in space with your wide receivers, or maybe it's Jeremiah Love in the slot or something like that, get the snap, turn, fire it, and then let your playmakers make plays in space. Notre Dame's wide receiver room is better than it's been in a long time. There might not be that alpha Will Fuller or alpha Jeff Samardzija or anything like that, but they have 6 guys, probably a little bit more than that, honestly, who can make plays with the ball in their hands, and they can win at the line of scrimmage. Mike Denbrock is a master of finding mismatches against the defense, and I think throughout this game, he's going to be kind of moving guys around, seeing where they move or where they fit and what kind of defense Texas A&M throws at them. Then he's going to key on some specific matches and then target them over and over. And I think that's a great way to help your young offensive line is just make them block less, right? As long as they don't have to block that long, there's less opportunity to make a mistake, and then they'll build some confidence, and that'll set you up for success down the road. in the run game, I think a lot of it is going to have to come down to Riley Leonard, because if they run the read option effectively and he's running well, then the defense is going to have to focus on him a little bit more, which is then going to create more running lanes for Jeremiah Love or Jadarian Price, and that is another good way to keep the defense guessing. So there are ways to help out this offensive line, and then there are ways where you really can't, right? Like Anthony Knapp was in high school this time last year. The last high school game he played was probably in front of 4,000 people. There's going to be 104,000 people in the stands on Saturday night, and most of them are going to be rooting for the opponent. So from that angle, you really can't do a whole lot. You just have to trust them. Personally, I feel really good about how Sam Pendleton is going to hold up, because I think he had a really, really impressive camp, and that's why he beat out Pat Coogan and Rocco Spindler, two guys who have double-digit starts between them. And I don't know about Knapp. I think it's such an impossible task to ask of a true freshman, but the coaching staff believes in him, and I have no reason to doubt the coaching staff in that regard. So I believe in these guys. I think they're going to hold up well enough in this game. They are going to lose some reps. It's going to happen. But even if Notre Dame had started Charles Jagasaw or Rocco Spindler or Pat Coogan in the spot, they would have lost some reps too, because they are going up against a really good offensive line in a very hostile environment. My biggest concern about the offensive line is probably just procedural penalties, because, I mean, I was there at Georgia in 2019, and there was probably 1 million false starts, maybe 1,000,002. That's what it felt like in the crowd at the time. But then again, when Marcus Freeman took over and Notre Dame went to Ohio State back in 2022, they only had one false start in that game. So I think that this team is going to be ready to go. They're going to do as much as they possibly can to help out this young offensive line. But at a certain point, they're going to have to jump out of the nest and fly, and we're going to see how they do. All right, next one. One Sneak 7668. How would it be an upset? Notre Dame is ranked 7th versus 20th ranked Texas A&M, and Notre Dame has a 59% chance to win this game, according to ESPN. Looks like Notre Dame is favored to me. Well, One Sneak. And also, I got a lot of other YouTube comments about this, because I made the YouTube headline, how the Irish can upset the Aggies. I'm not going to lie. I kind of knew what I was doing there. I was baiting people a little bit, because I know that some people would not recognize the fact that Texas A&M is literally favored by every single major sports book in the entire country. The line has been kind of steady at 2.5 recently, but Texas A&M is favored despite the fact that they are ranked 20th and Notre Dame is ranked 7th. That happens, okay? Rankings don't determine who is favored. So I don't know if One Sneak 7668 just read the headline, didn't watch any second of that episode, because I think I led off the preview with, here's what you need to know. Texas A&M is favored, but it's okay. He certainly wasn't the only one. But as for the 59% chance to win the game, according to ESPN, like that's the ESPN FPI. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Nobody even at ESPN understands what that metric is, how it works, if it even matters. I remember when I was working there, like we would have some of this stuff, and like you'd see a stat and you'd be like, wait, ESPN FBI gives so-and-so like a 70% chance to win. It's like if you follow the NBA, remember the Boston Celtics Golden State Warriors final a couple years ago? I think that the ESPN FBI gave Boston a 95% chance of winning, which is insane, because I think outside of that metric, or whatever you want to call it, Golden State was favored to win the NBA Finals in that series. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about the 59% chance to win. All I could tell you is that Texas A&M is definitively favored by the sports books. You are not favored by your ranking. It is based on the bookmakers. And right now, Notre Dame is the underdog. A lot of people are picking Texas A&M. Although Joel Klatt, shout out to my guy, he thinks Notre Dame is going to win 24-9. They're going to go undefeated, and they're going to be the 5 seed. I hope he's right. He's usually pretty good about this stuff with college football. Okay, next one. R2 Saint 24. Bo Collins seems to be getting rave reviews, was a 5-star recruit. With a great season from him and Leonard, what are the chances of seeing immediate impact and positive results on the recruiting trail? I think it would make it would definitely help in the transfer portal and in the recruiting trail if Bo Collins and Riley Leonard have a big year. Like Notre Dame really, really needs their offense to have a big season. It's the first year with Mike Denbrock, and even though last year they were top 10 in the country in points per game, they laid an egg in all of their biggest games. Ohio State, they were okay. They didn't finish drives, but they at least moved the ball in that game. They were pretty bad against Duke up until the last drive of the game, and they just were awful against Louisville and Clemson. So they put up points on the bad teams, but against the really good teams, they did not perform well. And that is why Notre Dame went out and they hired Mike Denbrock. if you want to recruit these 5-star guys, you want to get them to stay committed, like Deuce Knight and all that stuff. Like Deuce Knight is getting like other coaches negatively recruit Notre Dame when they're talking to Deuce Knight, and they point to the fact that the offense has not been good. They haven't had a really, really great quarterback in God knows how long. If you consider Brady Quinn truly elite, then it's been still over 15 plus years. But they really need proof of concept with this offense because, like, I understand why Mike Denbrock uses Jane Daniels all the time as recruiting pitches to quarterbacks, but it just feels a little weird when you're pitching a recruit to come to Notre Dame and the player that you're saying you're going to model them after went to LSU, especially when it's other SEC schools that want that same prospect. Again, I understand why they did it. I think that pitch will land a lot better if it's Riley Leonard in the video and you're saying, hey, if you come to Notre Dame, you could be the next Riley Leonard. And if that means something, if Riley Leonard has a truly great season, that is a much more effective pitch to these recruits. So I think a lot of people are going to be watching how the Notre Dame offense performs this season. Guys who entered the transfer portal, guys who are in high school, they want to see what this offense looks like under Mike Denbrock, if they're going to be explosive, if they're going to really utilize receivers in a way that they haven't in years, if the quarterback is going to be able to make plays through the air and with his legs. And if Notre Dame does put up a really great season statistically and in the win-loss column, I think it's going to pay immediate dividends. Just think back in 2012 when Notre Dame went to the national championship. That next recruiting class was one of the best they'd had in decades. They got Jalen Smith, and they got other studs as well. So that really helped, and I think it's helped out in recent years, and we know how much of a tireless recruiter Marcus Freeman is, but it's still difficult when you have an 8-4 season and then a 9-3 season. If you have an 11-1 or 12-0, all of a sudden it's easy to recruit the high-end guys that Notre Dame has been trying to get for years, and they just haven't been able to get. So yes, R2 Saint 24, we will see an immediate impact and positive results on the recruiting trail if Collins, Leonard, and this entire offense have a big year. All right, we got a couple more questions left. And coming up next, I'm put on the hot seat for my awful road attendance record. Today's episode is presented by 5-Hour Energy. 5-Hour Energy fixes tired fast. Whether you have a long list to do for work or if you have a long list of DIY projects to tackle at home, take a 5-Hour Energy shot so you can check everything off your list. If you're like me, you always have a seemingly endless list of things that you need to get done at work, at home, and just in life in general. But when you get supplies for your project or you're ready to knock out that to-do list, do not forget the most essential supply, which is a 5-Hour Energy shot. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it is the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. There really is a flavor for everyone. You could try them all. On the site, you even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You choose the flavors, and it is delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5-Hour Energy product today, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is also not good on subscription orders. Just go to 5hourenergy.com, number 5hourenergy.com, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. Okay, this might be my favorite question I've ever gotten on a mailbag. At TBay1955, why are you going to the game if you say your road record is so bad, you're a jinx? Firm, but fair, okay? I've talked about it a lot this week, and if you've been following me along for years, you know that my record at Notre Dame games, particularly the big games, is not good. And really, it applies outside of Notre Dame as well. Like, I went to a Cleveland Indians World Series game back in 2016. It was Game 6. They had the opportunity to win the World Series, and I was going to be in attendance. And I think that game was over by the second inning. The Cubs were up like 7-0, and then we were already thinking about Game 7. Not a super fun night for your boy. So I actually went through it because I'm like, am I being a little dramatic here? So I've been very fortunate enough to go to a bunch of Notre Dame games. You know, when I was a student, I had season tickets for all the home games and stuff like that, and I've been able to travel around. So I went through it. These are the true road games, or the games away from Notre Dame Stadium that I've gone to. In 2023, I went to the Navy game in Dublin. That was a win. I did go to the Ohio State game last year, and even though that doesn't really apply to this thing, I just should point that out. That was the most painful loss maybe ever. 2022, I went to the USC game out here in LA, loss. In 2021, I did go to the Wisconsin game in Chicago. that was a win. I also went to the game at Stanford. That was a win, but I don't even really want to count it in this exercise because there were more Notre Dame fans there than Stanford fans. It was the sleepiest game I've ever been to in my life, but we got to count it. That was a win. Okay, 2020, I went to the ACC Championship. That was a fat L. And I joke about it before with Luke Smith whenever he comes on the show. Like, that was an awful weekend, just truly awful weekend. What could have been great was just miserable for so many other reasons. If you know, you know. All right, 2019 at Louisville. That was a win, an ugly win, but a win nonetheless. Then I was at the Georgia game, brutal loss. Unbelievable atmosphere, very painful loss, even though most people weren't giving Notre Dame any chance going into that game. 2018, I was at the college football playoff game against Clemson, a loss. 2017, my senior year, I did go to that Michigan State game. That was a win. Didn't really feel that hostile, and even though those teams are ranked, Michigan State ended up being terrible. So, again, not a great win, but a win. It counts nonetheless. 2016, I went to the Texas game in the season opener in Austin. It was about 1,000,000 degrees. Was in the Texas student section with my boy Charlie Wooding, and boy, did we hear it from the Texas students throughout that game, and they loved flipping us the bird on our way out after that loss in overtime. And 2012, I was at the national championship. That game was over the moment that Alabama ran out of the tunnel. So away from Notre Dame Stadium, I'm 5-6, which actually isn't that bad. I think the problem is when I go to the biggest games, it almost always results in a loss, and they are loud else. They're either blowouts and the game's over immediately, or they're very painful. So why am I going to the game this weekend? I'm due, right? I got to be at some point. I got to go on a road game like this in a big moment where Notre Dame is being counted out and they actually win, right? I don't know. That's what I'm going to convince myself, and that's what I'm going to say to myself before the game starts when I'm probably just a nervous wreck ready for it to get going. But, man, if they win, it'll be like the weight of the world lifted off my back. All right, last one. Drew Brennan, 77, one of the best mailbag guys going around. He's been around forever, so shout out to Drew. Drew says, you're having people over to your place for the Texas A&M game. What food are you having? Where are you ordering it in from? And if you had to choose one type of chip and one kind of dip, what are you going with? All right, so Drew's basically asking me to build my ultimate home tailgate. All right, so I'm going with wings. Wings are going to be the centerpiece. I absolutely love hot wings. If I were to rank my like top 5 favorite foods of all time, you know, obviously like a great steak would be up there. Maybe some really, really good Italian lobster ravioli. Like those are the top 2, but good wings are right up there. For my favorite wings, prime Buffalo Wild Wings. If you grew up in the Midwest, you know what I'm talking about. B-Dubs at its peak, man. Hot barbecue wing sauce. So good. Unfortunately, customer service at B-Dubs, the quality has definitely been on the decline for a long time. There really aren't that many in LA, and the one I've been to is not that great. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to pass on B-Dubs. I really enjoy Hooters wings. Say what you will about the restaurant. The wings are awesome, okay? So I like those, but I'm not going to go with that for my ultimate tailgate here. There's this place near me in LA. It's called Tiny's High Dive. They've got the best wings in LA, no doubt. One of the best wings I've ever had. They're huge. They're like massive wings. They're buffalo, but they're not like your normal. They got a different take on it. It's almost like a barbecue. I wish they were a little bit more spicy, but they're loaded with flavor. They're really, really good. And when me and my buddies discovered it, we went an obscene amount. Shout out to Tommy Waitula. He might be listening to this. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. I'm getting 50 to 100 wings for this. I'm getting fries. I'm getting ranch, celery, you know, the works. For my side, my chip, and my kind of dip, I'm going to get like Tostito scoops. I know, basic, whatever. But let me put you on. For the kind of dip, I'm getting Frog Ranch salsa. That is Frog Ranch salsa. This is not an ad. But if you know me, you know how much I love salsa. And there's a specific brand called Frog Ranch. I literally get it delivered to my apartment wholesale from frogranch.com. I buy a case of 12, and I'm embarrassed by the fact that they really do not last that long. I normally have to get salsa, a case of salsa, probably more frequently than the average person, but I remember bringing it to college and showing my roommates. A lot of them love it, and then they end up ordering it themselves. So if you can find it at a grocery store near you, give it a try. I like the hot salsa, or just go online and get it delivered. Again, this is not even an ad. This is how much I just genuinely love that salsa. Also, other sides, you know what? I'll go buffalo chicken dip. That's a classic. Pigs in a blanket is always a good option. Maybe a salad. I don't know. So I don't feel like such a piece of shit the next day. Just some vegetables, some green. but I'm just getting a ton of wings, man. I'm getting a bunch, and I'm housing them, and hopefully I'm enjoying the game. But as I said, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in College Station, and guess what? That is going to do it for this episode. Thanks again for making Locked On Irish your first listen of the day. Wait for it. Enjoy the game tomorrow. I've been waiting so long to say those words. It feels like it's been years since I've been able to say that, but seriously, enjoy the game tomorrow. We have been waiting for this for so long, and, I don't want to say win or lose. It's going to be fun. We all know that we're here to watch Notre Dame win, and I just think that this team has the makings of a really special season, and it starts tomorrow night at Kyle Field in College Station. It's going to be awesome, man. It's going to be an awesome atmosphere. If you're in College Station, come find me. Let's say what's up. Let's get a beer together. If you're watching from home, enjoy it. Hopefully you have a home tailgate as good as the one that I just explained. But I can't wait, man. I'm going to be back here next Monday once I'm back to react to everything that goes down, and then full slate of shows next week to react to that game. Get ready for the next week's game against Northern Illinois, the home opener. A lot of exciting stuff coming your way on the podcast. Remember, subscribe on YouTube, wherever you listen to the pod. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game, and go Irish.